Library Board. They serve in the interim until the. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular board meeting for Monday, August 11th of 2014. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll take the roll call. Mr. Battanti? Here. Mr. Brado? Here. Mr. Capral? Here. Mr. Tominello?
Here.
Mr. York?
Here.
Mr. Witt? Here. Mr. Verkest is asked to be excused. Due to Mr. Verkest's excused absence, we need to appoint an acting chairperson for the meeting.
Make a motion. Go ahead. Make a motion to appoint Mr. Witt to temporary chair.
So moved.
This meeting.
Support. Wait. Sorry. All right, I have a motion by Mr. Tominello, supported by Mr. Battanti, to appoint myself as acting chairperson for tonight's meeting. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next up, we have the approval of the consent agenda. First is the approval of the regular board meeting minutes of July 28th, 2014. And item number 2 is approval of the bills in the amount of $581,835.25.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
A motion by Mr. York. Is there support? Supported by Mr. Capral. Any discussion on those? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the approval of the regular agenda. I did not hear of any changes to it, so I'd be looking to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. York,
Support.
supported by Mr. Battanti. Any public comments, any board comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Board. At this time is announcements. I don't have any announcements. Does anybody have any?
We do, I have one from the Parks and Recreation Committee. We have our annual movie night, which is presented by Parkit, and the movie night is August 28th. It's held at Waterfront Park. There's free music and the free movie. The movie will be Despicable Me, which is generally intended for young children. And the music is by the George Brothers Band, which they are very good. If you haven't heard them, come out and listen to them. They're very good. And the movie, or the music starts at 6:30, and the movie starts around 8 o'clock. And everything, it's absolutely free. So we'd love to have people come out and enjoy the movie and music.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item B from the Accounting Department. This is to award H. Domine Company the contract to repair and upgrade the alarm system on the township's fuel and storage tanks. Mr. Spencer was oversees our fuel pumps, so just want to give a quick overview to the board, please.
The fuel pump system needs to be maintained and upgraded from time to time, and unfortunately it seems like it's an incredibly expensive proposition, but I did get some quotes from 2 different contractors. The whole environment for the fuel pumps has changed a lot in the last 2 years. The federal government has put really stringent rules and procedures and extra safety requirements in place. And it's basically ensured the viability of all the companies that do work on this. And there aren't a lot of companies. The problem is that the malpractice insurance for people who work on this equipment is about as high as it is for doctors. And so we've come to a point where there's another thing that needs to be repaired. And this wasn't a surprise. The alarm system on the tanks and the fuel pumps has been going for a while, and we've been babying it along, but there are cables underground that run from the pumps into the fire station that run to the alarms, and they've just been getting more and more corroded every year. And the system was first installed in 1992, so you can imagine what's happened. We've come up with a new approach to running the cables underground. We're gonna run them through the grass now instead of the cement. It's one of the big roadblocks all along, has been, we didn't want to tear up the entire driveway behind the fire station just to replace a few cords or cables. So we've come up with a notion where we're going to run the cables underground like they are now, but through the grass so we can get at them when we need to. And that will cut the cost probably in half, if not more. So this company here has come highly recommended by a few people, so I'm not real concerned about using them, even though they're so inexpensive. But I think they can do the work, and they even suggested some ideas that the more expensive companies didn't in terms of saving cost for the township. So I think they're trustworthy, and they've done some other work for us, but even though it seems like a lot of money, as I mentioned before, we save a lot of money by buying gas wholesale. So it's worth the investment to do these things that need to be done only like every 10 years or so. We save a lot of money in the meantime. So much as I hate to spend that kind of money, it needs to be done, and we don't have a lot of options because there's two things going on. One of them is that the state inspectors have been dancing around waiting for us to get these improvements done, and he's been working with us, and although he's threatened a couple of times to shut the system down, he said he'd work along with these guys because he knows them until they get done. And the other problem we've had is, for the second time in about 4 months, one of the things you're gonna repair is the pipes at the top of the tank that the outside supply company uses to put gas and diesel fuel in the tanks have also been separating from the tanks. And so 2 times we've had to have them come out and actually pump water out of the diesel tank because obviously it damages the trucks and water in there. And every time they come out, it's like $350 just to pump the water out. So we're wasting money by not spending money. So it's a wise thing to do, and if you feel comfortable approving this, I'll call them as early as tomorrow, get on their calendar.
All right, thank you. Unless there's any other questions, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend the H. Domine Company be awarded the contract to repair and upgrade the alarm system on the township's fuel storage tanks in the amount of, looks like $18,180.
Support.
Supported by Mr. Tominello. Seeing no public comment, is there any other board comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The next item is approval to advertise an interview for a temporary employee in the assessing department at a rate of $12 per hour with no benefits for up to 40 hours per week. This is being brought forward to backfill for an employee that's out on a leave right now. So at this point, we're just, the supervisor's office and the assessing department are just looking to advertise for the position and bring back a recommendation at a future date.
Make a motion to advertise interview for a temporary employee in the assessing department at a rate of $12 per hour with no benefits for up to 40 hours per week for up to 120 days with the recommendation to come back before the Board of Trustees.
You know, and just, I know it says 120 days. When I had spoke to Mr. Burkest about this, he said that he'd want to remove the 120 days. Just, you know, normally when we backfill for a disability leave or we have it for the term of that leave, and they're sort of unpredictable sometimes. So
Whatever.
so you're amending your motion to remove the, up to 120 days?
Well, they're gonna be brought back anyway, so it
Yeah,
doesn't matter,
just
so
I didn't
whatever,
wanna have to-
I'll amend it, cause
I didn't wanna have to-
I can put 30 days on it.
Yeah, I
If it
didn't wanna
comes
have
back
to-
die, or-
If we change something later, I didn't want to have to fix it later. So is there support for that motion?
Support.
Is supported by Mr. Brado.
Well, they're gonna bring it back, so
Yeah,
at that
correct.
point, you could say 200 days, 500 days,
Yeah.
whatever.
Just be clear right off the bat. Any public comment? Any other board comment?
Mr. Witt?
Yes.
I'd just like to mention that I think it's important to note, I spoke to Mr. Spencer about this, and the salary for the individual that's on leave will be paid via our insurance policy, and this will be paid out of the budget, so that there should not be a negative impact to the budget per se as a result of doing this. I believe I'm correct in.
Normally, we end up with a positive impact
Right.
on a disability.
So-
You know, you hate to see people leave,
Of
but
course.
from a budgetary standpoint.
But I'm just saying, I think it's important to note that this, adding this temporary resource will not have a negative impact on the budget. It doesn't change our insurance premium, and so therefore, the budget should have a positive impact. Just want to make that observation.
Any other board comment? All right, hearing none, we have a motion by Mr. York, seconded by Mr. Brado, to advertise an interview for a temporary employee in the assessing department at a rate of $12 per hour with no benefits for up to 40 hours per week, with a recommendation to be brought back before the Board of Trustees. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The last item that we have before us is an approval to approve a letter of support for the installation of a right turn lane at Crocker and Metropolitan Parkway. The Macomb County Department of Roads is planning on the addition of a right-hand turn lane from northbound Crocker to eastbound Metro Parkway. This should reduce congestion at the intersection, which oftentimes backs up all the way across Kroger. The addition of the lane requires closing Acacia at Crocker, and the Department of Roads has requested a letter of support from the township. They have not requested any cost participation from the township at this time. The fire department was asked about, if this would impact response times, and you'll see attached there, there's a letter from the chief saying that there's no objection from the fire department to that closing, so.
Do you know if there was any notifications to the residents within that area?
I know, last year, there was Beamer Street, which is the first street there. They were in for a discussion on a special assessment process for the repaving of their road. And the discussion concerning that right-hand turn lane was had then. And that's probably the most direct method that we had to reach to those residents. Beyond that is, I don't know of any outreach that's been made.
So there's they may be aware that something was in the works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they've been talking about this for a while. I think there's, by word of mouth, a lot of the residents know about it. And, that's gonna improve that corner immensely. That light, it's actually a four-way light, so each direction changes independently. So if you're sitting, if you get stopped, you're actually sitting close to 3.5 minutes, so. So that's really going to improve the flow, especially getting out of Kroger. A lot of times you'll sit in the exit of Kroger, waiting for the traffic to clear, and then by the time you turn, then you wait another 3.5 minutes, and by the time you get up to the lights, another 3.5 minutes. And one thing I noticed, a lot of people are turning on the gravel road right there, right before Metro Parkway, heading north. And they're actually going through the residential area anyway, and going to the first exit on 16, and that's causing a lot of grief as well. It's a lot more traffic in that area, so I think this is a really good move, and I would, I'd make a motion to ask the supervisor to draft a letter in support of the construction of the turn lane in Crocker at Metro Parkway.
We have a motion by Mr. Tominello,
Support.
supported by Mr. Capral. The only other thing that I would add is, and maybe we can ask to put it in the letter, is that they finish the sidewalk off there. Because if you look from the bank, it stops at the road, and then it doesn't pick up on the other side even. Like, there's a a worn piece of grass there, so maybe they can look at connecting the bike paths with that.
I would amend the motion to include that. I think that's,
Yeah, I don't know if
Any
that's
improvements-
necessary, but, you know,
any
it's just,
improvement is worth it.
Oh,
They're
if
gonna
they-
be there.
If they put that in, they're gonna finish off that sidewalk.
yeah, I hope, I would hope so,
Yeah.
so. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, any further board comment?
Mr. Witt, we've already asked if we've notified the residents. I wonder, do we have is there an obligation to do it? I understand that we have talked about whether we've done it, but is there an obligation to do it?
You know, I don't think there would be on our part, but, you know, when we talk to the Department of Roads, I'll pass it along and see if they maybe would do, if they're gonna do some sort of notice, if that's part of their procedures for something like this, and, I mean, we can put it on the cable, I'm
Yeah, I
sure,
was
once
gonna
the
say,
project's been approved,
the
because at this
website.
point, it's not a
Right.
sure thing, but, you know, we can use our resources to try and make it as public as possible.
I would just like to be certain that we don't, it doesn't, I think it's a good idea. I'm part of those backups a lot, so I think it's a great idea, a needed improvement. I just wanna make sure that we don't, not, comply with something that we should, and, you know, so, my only comment.
So if this letter gets written, at what point in time would we know if this is gonna come to fruition, or?
You know, my understanding is that they're ready to go. They have their internal process ready. This is just one of the items for the Department of Roads to approve it, is to get the local buy-in.
There were lines painted there today, so it looks like somebody's ready to do something.
Yeah, and in Mr. Hoffner's letter to us, it says they have, the design and plans are already done.
Yeah,
So-
it's something they've been talking about
Yeah.
for
So it's
a couple
funded,
years.
it's designed, it's planned, it's
Yeah.
basically just, I hope they can get that done before the Labor Day holiday. I guess
Yeah.
we'll see.
And then the abandoned road, does that become the Department of Roads right away, or is that a township right away?
It would most likely
'Cause
maintain.
it's a local road.
It would most likely maintain as a road right-of-way, just not in use. There's a couple other areas along 16 where we have a road right-of-way that's not a road. But I would think they would pull it back as much as they
Be nice
can
if
until.
they turned it into green space.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Instead
curved, and so you really can't, yeah, actually, it's gonna be nice for those residents there, they'll eliminate all that traffic.
Yeah, so. Hearing no other public or board comment, we have a motion to direct the supervisor to draft a letter of support for the construction of a right-hand turn lane to from northbound Crocker at eastbound Metro Parkway. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. We're open for public comment.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Carolyn Innes. I was here a couple of weeks ago. At 38-130 Maple Forest Boulevard, East Harrison Township. I came here 2 weeks ago to ask citizens of Harrison Township to vote yes on the library millage, and they did. I want to take this opportunity to publicly thank the citizens of Harrison Township who realize the importance of having a fully funded library and the difference that it will make in our community. In addition to all the other responsibilities the Harrison Township Board of Trustees have, the board is responsible for overseeing the library. So I also want to thank the Harrison Township Board of Trustees for their continued support and guidance. Also, thank you to the Library Steering Committee for who met for long hours to produce campaign materials, being careful to follow all campaign laws. Thank you to the many volunteers who distributed millage information door to door and handed flyers out throughout the community. Thank you also to the residents and many businesses who so graciously agreed to have our vote yes signs on their property. We actually had many requests for signs right up until the day of the election. We'd run out of time and resources, but we're so gratified by the enthusiasm of the folks in the neighborhoods. So, thank you, Harrison Township. We have many months of hard work still ahead of us as we make transition from all volunteer library to a fully funded public library. We ask for your patience, and with the continued support and guidance from this board, we know we have the support of our community. It will finally happen now. We will continue to be open for business Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and you can keep in informed of library events at the h2plib.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further public comments, we'll move now to board comments. Are there any board comments tonight? I just want to say thank you to everyone that came out to vote, and thank you to the precinct workers who put in a really long day through power outages and all other sorts of dilemmas, and thank everyone who did decide to come out and vote, so.
Mr. Witt, I guess on that note, I'd like to thank you and your staff. David Brotto and I were present during that, and I think you and Nico Crown and Margaret Lucida worked very hard. There were situations that had to be dealt with, and you handled them very well. And it was my first exposure to that process. And from my perspective, you did a very good job. We're very well prepared, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you on behalf of my staff. Seeing no further board comments, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support. Go ahead, Frank.
Oh, you're good.
We have a motion by Mr. Tominello, seconded by Mr. York, to adjourn at 7:22. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?